Ladies and gentlemen, today for you I have another 6 accords plundered from Givaudan. Yes, that is right, I've been on the high 7 seas searching for perfumery nuggets of information, aka just been back to the booklet that I was looking at the other week, and I've got 6 more nice little binary combinations for you guys. So if you didn't watch the previous video on this, essentially I was online and I found a nice little marketing book by Givaudan, who are the biggest flavour and fragrance company in the world. And this was essentially a booklet trying to market some of their fragrance ingredients. However, in that booklet, at the start of it, they very nicely give some little binary combinations, aka, blends of just 2 materials, i.e. a nice accord, that you can make with some of their raw materials. And all of these raw materials you can obtain at home through various perfumery resellers online. So I thought it'd be interesting to go and smell 6 more of those for you guys and let you know what they're like, because that video was quite popular. So if you haven't watched the previous video, definitely go check that out first. And if you have, then welcome to part 2. So we're going to keep it short and simple this time, and we're going to start off with the combination of methyl laitone and Nectaryl. So methyl laitone is a kind of woody coconut smelling molecule that's very powerful. And Nectaryl, on the other hand, is quite a light, transparent, waxy, peachy smelling molecule, at least in my opinion. Now, this combination, according to Givaudan, is, they say, let's create a delicious peach cheesecake, the perfect combination of fruity creaminess, floral density, and speculoos gourmandoise. Right, so this one, when I first dipped it, I remember the methyl laitone was super dominant, and it basically just smelled of methyl laitone. I did not think it was a good accord. Anyway, what did before just smell like methyl laitone, aka woody coconutty smell? Now you can actually smell a peach note, and I do think that there has been some kind of interesting interaction, because normally Nectaryl on its own is, like I said, fairly transparent and peachy, but now you get a peach note, but it's a bit more creamy, a little bit more lactonic. I wouldn't go as far to say it actually smells like cheesecake. If you wanted to make a peach cheesecake smell, you'd probably get some peach notes, and you would really want to put them with vanillin for sure. And if you wanted speculoos, you'd probably get some spices, so I think that was a bit of an over-the-top assumption. However, I do think the methyl laitone does add a kind of creamy lactonic facet, and that actually helps round out the peach note a little bit, and it does make it just that little bit more juicy. So I wouldn't say this accord is anything particularly special, but I think it just kind of relates to the fact that in general, if you want to make a peach note, usually you'd want a nice lactonic note in there. So having something like Nectaryl as a kind of big peachy background with something a little bit more lactonic leaning like methyl laitone, that helps you make a nice juicy peach note. So I think there are a lot of other things you can use for peach. For example, famously, the one you would use is peach aldehyde C14. Honestly, that would probably give you more of a peachy smell, but yeah, I think it's an okay accord. Next then, we have methyl pamplemousse and Paradisamide. Now, methyl pamplemousse is a grapefruity smelling top notes. It's quite nice because it's a synthetic grapefruit note, and that means it's a little more kind of stable, than actual grapefruit essential oil. That can degrade quite quickly in your perfumes. Now, Paradisamide, on the other hand, is a really beautiful tropical note. So this is a long-lasting tropical note that you can put in your perfume. It smells a little bit like things like guava and, various exotic fruits. It's got a little bit of a sulfurous side to it. But unlike a lot of the tropical notes, which are very sulfurous and can be quite pungent, Paradisamide has a really nice way of, it just produces a very, quite a noticeable, long-lasting, pleasant, tropical fruity note in your perfume. Now, according to Givaudan, the combination is taste a fizzy cocktail of citrus and cold spices, a refreshing natural boost of rosy cardamom notes coloured by energizing ginger and bergamot zest. So what does it smell like? Yeah, it smells like a grapefruity tropical note. Now, it does remind me very slightly of some kind of washing up liquid. That's probably because methyl pamplemousse is used in that kind of thing sometimes, in cleaning products for a nice, cheap, fresh, citrusy note. But, it doesn't necessarily mean it will make your perfume smell like that, because you could use it at lower concentration or in combination with other things that kind of take that edge off of it. However, the combination overall I think is very nice, because, you know, on its own, methyl pamplemousse is nice and grapefruity, but the Paradisamide, that kind of more exotic tropical note, that adds a lot more nuance and kind of complexity. They both kind of just meld together nicely because they're just two notes that both go in a bit of a, you know, a bit of a, let's say, exotic or like that kind of more unusual tropical citrusy fruity direction. So they go quite nicely together. Now, as for the notes Givaudan say, does it have citrusy notes? Yes. Does it have cold spices? I wouldn't say particularly, but I can kind of see why you may think it's cooling, maybe in the sense that it's a little bit refreshing. And then, does it have a cardamom smell? Now, interestingly, I don't think it smells like cardamom, but when you kind of feel the sensation that the accord does to your nose, let's say, that kind of the feeling you get from it, it does leave a little bit of the feeling of cardamom. So I'll give them something on that one. Maybe you could use this as a very minimal or abstract cardamom note to some degree. And then ginger and bergamot zest, well, by nature of its kind of bright citrusness from methyl pamplemousse, it has a bit of a, you know, you could say it's a little bit bergamot-y direction in a sense. And ginger, yeah, I mean, the methyl pamplemousse again and the Paradisamide, yeah, they do have a little bit of it. It's kind of that sharp, zesty feeling. So yeah, you could say it's a bit of a ginger direction as well. But yeah, overall it's quite a nice combination. Next then we have Nectaryl and Ambrofix flakes. So Nectaryl, the peachy note we talked about before, and then Ambrofix, which is Givaudan's version of Ambroxan. So they say it's like a freshly picked peach, naturally green and crunchy, while diffusing velvety smell of an orchard during summer. So, you know, when I smell it, I don't really get that. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it smells like that. Basically, it just smells like Ambrofix with the tiniest peachy touch to it. But really, it mostly smells like Ambrofix. I wouldn't say there's a particular accord to my nose in there. And, you know, the thing is, like, Ambrofix is a lot stronger to my nose than Nectaryl. And they're put in at a 1-to-1 ratio according to this recommendation. So it kind of, you know, seems weird to me anyway. Like, I would have thought that normally Ambrofix you use a little touch of it, whereas Nectaryl you'd use quite a bit. But, you know, what do I know? I mean, I'm not the expert on using these things. However, to my nose at least, this doesn't really smell like what they're saying it smells like. And I wouldn't say it's an amazing accord. Next then we have Paradisamide, that tropical note with methyl laitone, that coconutty woody note that they've been putting in a lot of these accords. So this one, I smelled it and I thought, you know what, this is really nice actually. And it's a nice blend because, I mean, the two things, they kind of do come together actually very well. I think they do create something a little bit different. I wouldn't have thought to put these two together particularly, but it does make sense given they both have a tropical direction, like Paradisamide being more like tropical fruits and methyl laitone having a coconut aspect. I guess it makes sense, right? But it's nice because the methyl laitone has this creamy side to it. And that creates this nice kind of like, almost like a big soft coconut husk in the background. And then the Paradisamide, it's nicely balanced out actually. It really just harmonizes well with this methyl laitone. It's made a little bit less kind of, let's say, sharp and, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most sharp and aggressive thing. That's what makes it so nice because a lot of those other tropical notes are. But even then, the methyl laitone, I think, tones down the Paradisamide and allows it to breathe and show all of its nice, let's say, colors. It really just kind of, I would say it like wraps around it in a very nice way. The two really blend together. And I like it. If I was going for, you know, it makes me think now of like a tropical perfume. But I think you could use this in a lot of perfumes. Like this could go in like an incense style perfume because the methyl laitone has a sandalwood facet and the kind of unique colouring, let's say, from the Paradisamide just makes you think of, again, something a little bit like more mystical maybe. So this could be a nice incensey theme as well. Yeah, I think this is a really cool combination. My favourite one so far. Right, so next we have Peonile and Javanol. So Peonile is a kind of peony note, like a floral note, which I think is on the sweeter side and gives me a little bit of a fruity lychee aspect, which I quite like. It's, you know, not super strong and can get overwhelmed by other things quite easily, but it's a nice note. And then Javanol is kind of very powerful, diffusive, milky, soft sandalwood note. So what does it smell like together? Well, I think it mostly smells like Javanol, which doesn't, you know, it's not surprising, given how strong Javanol is. But, you know, I think you can smell that it's made a bit sweeter. It's made a bit more full, a bit more round by having the Peonile in there. If I was going to think about how this works as an accord, well, let's see what Givaudan say first. They say rosy facets of Javanol echoes to the fruity petals of Peonile, creating a rich and magnificent sandalwood. Okay, yeah, that kind of is similar to what I was going to say. So, to my nose, this isn't like an accord really that makes something new. It's more like a booster for Javanol, in the sense that, say you're going to have a sandalwood, clean, diffusive, creamy, sandalwood element in your perfume, and you wanted to use some Javanol, then having like a backdrop of Peonile can, let's say, help you, amp it up a little bit more, open it out, make it a bit sweeter and even more radiant than it already is. So that's what I would say is how this accord can work. It's not like making a new smell, it's rather a way to boost the Javanol that you may already be using in your perfume. So that's kind of cool. I guess it's cool to know. So moving on to the final one, and here we have the Peonile from before, and this time we have it with Florhydral. So Florhydral is a bit of a funny one. When I smell it on its own, it's a little bit of an aggressive smell. It's a very strongly kind of, how to say it? It's almost like a petal smell, but it's made all very like kind of fatty, waxy, it's like strong. It's almost in the metallic kind of direction without really smelling particularly metallic, if that makes sense. But it's kind of almost a little bit chemical. It's a little bit, a bit much kind of thing. It's kind of like a bit of a grey smell, a bit of an austere smell. So, I wasn't too sure how this was going to go. But when I smell it, I think it works quite well. And that's because Peonile on its own, while it's quite a nice floral note, it's quite light. And, as I said before, easy to overpower. I feel like when it comes together with this Florhydral, this adds like a bit of a stronger heart to it, but by being this grey thing in the middle and at this lower proportion, because this is only 20%, the Peonile's 80%, so it's like a 4-to-1 ratio, it kind of allows the Peonile to give its kind of sweeter, fruity aspect to the kind of strength of the Florhydral. So they come together to make a nice kind of, what is to me a kind of fantasy flower or a fantasy floral kind of petal note, which has kind of a surprising complexity for just two things. So if you were looking for like so you were experimenting with florals, you wanted a bit of a unique floral mid-note to your perfume, you could start at something like this, and especially if you're getting bored of things like the rose and the jasmine, the lily, all the standard stuff, and especially if you wanted something that wasn't going to change your personality of your perfume too much, and you didn't want to go just down the standard fresh lily route, maybe this would be quite interesting to try. So what do they say? Delicious green and crunchy banana peel. Interesting. Softened by rosy petals and warm spices. So I get the rosy petals side. Okay, the weird thing here, is when they say it smells like crunchy banana peel, I can suddenly imagine crunchy banana peel now I smell it, which is kind of crazy. So maybe this would go to banana accord as well. So yeah, maybe if you're trying to make a banana accord, this could work. And specifically, I think not for a banana smell, but like they say, a crunchy banana peel. And I think it's because it does the kind of green element, that green facet you would expect with a crushed banana peel. For some reason, this accord comes together to give you that feeling. It's like, imagine you had like a green banana skin, it wasn't that ripe and you went and crushed it. For some reason, it makes me think of that. So yeah, I don't know how they came up with that, but that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if you're going to use it much, but the more you know, the more you know. So yeah, that's 6 more of those accords. I think my favourite one was the Paradisamide with the methyl laitone. I think that was a pretty cool combination. Then after that, yeah, that crushed banana skin one was kind of cool too. But anyway, in the booklet there are 6 more that I have the raw materials to do. So if you'd like to see those, I could do one final video in this series. If you'd like to see that, then just let me know down in the comments. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope maybe you've got a couple of these raw materials and that you could try at least one of the combinations and, see if you like it or not yourself. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon with another video about perfumery. So until then, I'm wishing you all the best.